Well, I thought I'd do something a little bit unusual. I wanted to do a Q&A because I think that Q&As are great if you are going to be taking a break from YouTube and you want to feed the algorithm while you're gone. So I asked people on YouTube, Patreon, as well as Blue Sky users to send me their burning questions, and you all came up with quite a bit of questions. Some of them pretty fucked up. Nonetheless, great questions. So, without further ado, let's get to it. Generic user says, which politician best demonstrates holiday cheer? Maybe Bernie Sanders, because he's the most giving. He wants to give us Medicare for all and higher wages. I mean, I think that fits. Unknown says, I get the impression you have 2 dogs. Can you show us both of them, please? Yes. Here's Poopy, and here's Zoya. Okay. Infamous Blonde says, I am feeling somewhat helpless at this point, along with a lot of my friends who are very disappointed in the election results, but more so the direction the country is headed in generally. What are some of the best tips and ideas you can give to the average person on how we can all stay involved and actually make an impact while still raising kids and or working? Also, wishing you the merriest of holidays. I am appreciative that you are a voice of reason in an otherwise unreasonable world. Thank you. Well, I appreciate you saying that. I think that honestly, the best thing that you can do is try to have an impact locally. You can't affect much at the national level. I mean, you could protest, you can vote, you can write your lawmaker, but you're going to have the biggest effect at the local level. So start just trying to make some friends and make some connections. Go to, local Facebook groups that are political, have some meetups, go to events. Maybe if there's a DSA chapter, I'd highly recommend you join that. That's a great way to meet like-minded people. Just have an impact at the local level, even if it's just buying a dinner for a family that's less fortunate, or buying a Christmas present for somebody who lost their job and they can't afford to buy one for their kids, or buy diapers for, a new mom who just can't afford it. Little things like this, small gestures of kindness, I think that's you really making a big difference in the world. It's kind of hard to do that because we're all insulated in these bubbles, especially after, COVID. I say after, but COVID is still happening. But, after the height of the pandemic, and it's hard to talk to people. But I would say force yourself to do that. Put yourself out there and try to make friends, because I think that the local politics is going to be something where you can really make a huge difference. Try to meet people and try to get involved in that. Okay, moving on. Beach Bra says, any advice to college students who want to pursue political science? Always make sure you take notes of the readings. If you read something, you didn't read it, and you're not going to maintain it in that dome unless you read it and then you jot down notes. Because there's so much, especially if you go for comparative politics. That's going to have a lot of different stats, usually information about the electoral systems of different countries. You've got to write that shit down. So what I would do is I would do the reading, and then I would highlight everything, and then I would physically type up all of the things that I highlighted just so I really got it in my brain. That would be my advice. Okay. Mafu says, would you ever consider going on a podcast or a show? Would love if you had a conversation with someone like Adam Conover or even Hassan. Love your work. Well, thank you so much. I mean, I would love to go on Hassan's stream, but I've considered it. And yeah, if he ever invites me, I would go on it. Adam Conover, same thing. Love Adam Conover as well. They're both kind of giants though. Like they're here and I'm right here. But, if that ever came up, if I was offered, if I did something that warranted that, I think they would both love to have me on. I will say, Adam Conover actually rated me on Twitch before, which was really cool. So, yeah, but of course, I'm always down to go on shows. Okay, the next one is from Tyler Hackner. Anything that you're most hopeful about in the face of pretty bleak times ahead? The Nintendo Switch 2. That is literally all that I've got. Unknown. Santa could give you one legislation policy. Which one do you wish for and why? That's tough. To just end pain and suffering immediately, I would say cut off support for Israel. That'd be the one thing. But if that were not going on, I would probably say Medicare for all or completely getting money out of politics. It's tough because the policy I want is Medicare for all, but getting money out of politics would facilitate those types of broad universal policies if corporations and industries weren't able to influence the process. So this is actually tough. This is really tough for me. I'd probably say money out of politics because that would also affect the Israel issue as well. Just get it out of politics, publicly finance every single election, ban corporate lobbying. That would be my number one thing. Anti-corruption policies. That's what we'd go with. Okay. Ryan Skates asks, do you have any favorite Christmas movies you like to watch every year? Mine are Tokyo, Godfathers, and It's a Wonderful Life. My favorite has got to be Jingle All the Way. I love that movie so much. And it's funny because this year I'm kind of Arnold Schwarzenegger in Jingle All the Way, but I'm looking for the Wicked Barbie dolls for my niece, but I cannot fucking find them anywhere. Come to find out, one of you on Blue Sky let me know that the reason why they're hard to find is because they were pulled from the shelves because they linked to a website that's wicked.com. You'd think it's for the movie, but apparently that is not for the movie. That website is, it's very spicy, we'll put it that way. The real website is wickedmovie.com, but that is not what's printed on the box. But I could not find those fucking Barbie dolls. So I got her the Lego version instead, where it's like these dolls of the two main characters. And I hope she likes it. It looks really cool. She's super into Wicked, so I'm crossing my fingers. Okay, the next one here is from Connie Machuca. How did you and your hubby meet? Who proposed? How long have y'all been together? Did you have a wedding ceremony? Interesting question. Okay, so we met online, and in terms of who proposed, we both kind of proposed to each other, albeit at different times. So back in 2014, when Oregon legalized marriage equality, I had asked him in kind of a half-serious way, like, should we get married? And he was kind of like, sure. But the way he said it was kind of like, are you fucking serious? Are you just asking because it happened and it's in the news? So I kind of took that as, that wasn't a real proposal, and we didn't really talk about it again because we're both awkward with this kind of shit. And then later, years down the line, we were coming back home from Taco Bell, very romantic, and talking about how I was losing my healthcare and kind of fucked. And then he was like, well, you would get on my healthcare plan for my job if you got married. I'm like, oh, okay. So are we engaged then? Is this like official? And he's like, sure. And that's how it happened. It's just the story for the ages. But you have to understand, we both are very like non-sentimental people. We're very serious, cold people. Well, I think he's not cold. I'm more of a cold-hearted bitch than he is. Not that he's a cold-hearted bitch. I'm talking, God, he's going to watch this. I'm sorry, honey. I love you. No, but like, I'm just not like very sentimental or that kind of a person. You probably already got that sense by watching my videos throughout the years, but it was kind of just an unofficial thing. Hey, let's do it. And then we did. So I would have perfectly been happy with just getting a courtroom wedding, but I thought that we had to do the whole shebang because we're the only gay people our families know, and there's a lot of homophobia on my side. So I thought that it was important for them to see like a wedding so it would legitimize it in their minds. And it's not like we didn't have like a massive wedding, but we had like an official ceremony where we got an officiant and stuff like that, just so it looked, legitimate. So the homophobes would maybe think, oh, okay, so this is just like my wedding and everyone else's wedding. So that was our thinking there. But, we've been together for a very long time. We've been together for almost 15 years. We've been married for 7. So yeah, we were just young kids, and we're still at it. So yeah, I'm very, very lucky. He's my best friend, and yeah. Okay, next one is from Chronic J. How are you and your husband preparing for the next 4 years? Well, Chronic, if you look at your username, it gives you a little bit of a hint. Megan asks, what is your favorite holiday memory? When I got Donkey Kong 64 and screamed so loud like a little girl, it was like a haunted house scream because I was really excited. And my dad was like, stop screaming, because he just woke up. It was just funny to me. And also because I really fucked with Donkey Kong 64. I was ecstatic. So probably that. Okay. Mike Murdoch says, do you recommend any groups that will be helpful for the next 4 years? I have a few trans friends and immigrant friends that I am super worried about next year. And even though myself and a soon-to-be trans friend moving in with me in a blue state. I want to know what other organizations that I can assist with them to protect them during the next 4 years. I think you're already doing it, Mike. I think that it's really hard because we're kind of having to guess what legislation is coming forward and then trying to follow these organizations that will be leading the effort about them. Like if they say write letters or make phone calls, we'll do that. But until then, I think the best thing that you can do is just be there for the trans people in your life. Be a shoulder to cry on, just be an ear, because it's going to be really demoralizing. You know, even if he doesn't directly target them, there's still a lot of bigotry. So if you can be there for your trans friend, seems like you already are. I think that's really, really important. I think interpersonal relationships, that's going to be a theme. If anybody asks for advice, really building up that, shoring up the friendships you have, making new friendships. I think that is going to get us through this time, so that we're not alone in our little echo chambers or just, you know, not leaving home. Like we need to try to be there for the people that we're closest to in real life and online if you can as well. Jeff Elliott says, we all know that dictators require a huge group of media people to push out tons of propaganda filled with lies. How are shows like yours going to be able to expose the lies and get the proof necessary to show people what is actually happening in the government? Is the Project 2025 system going to be fully implemented before the next election? It is going to be so easy to get department heads to lie, cheat, steal, and mislead any normal form of inquiry to get to the truth. So how are you going to get to the truth? Thank you for hearing me. Bro, I don't know. I'm going to try my best. Like, it's very difficult because, you know, this is a big platform. We have 500,000 subscribers here, but you can only do so much. We're dealing with behemoths, corporate media, right-wing channels that don't just have bigger audiences, but they have funding. So I'm going to do the best that I can. And I think that Dusty Smith said it the best when he was on the Vanguard. It's like, look, you can only do so much, but that small impact that you're having, the people you're speaking to, they matter, right? And I don't know how big of an impact I'm having, but every once in a while, I'll hear from people and say, yeah, it was because of you that I left my conservative views. Like even back to 2017 when I blew up because of net neutrality. My videos were very popular back then because not a lot of people were talking about it and cared this much. People, you know, after that were like, hey, I found you during net neutrality and I was conservative, but now I'm a commie. So they kind of, they got radicalized in some way just because I introduced them to left-leaning ideas. And it's not just like, you know, it's not like they all went extreme. It's like, hey, you know, I used to be a conservative, but I kind of agree more with you on certain issues, or at least see where you're coming from. I think that's really important. So we can only do so much. Independent media, it's not very big. It doesn't have the resources, but the small impact that we're making is important. The small impact that you can make just at the interpersonal level, also very important. Brenda asks, what was your favorite Christmas gift you've ever received, either as an adult, child, or both? I'm going to have to go back to Donkey Kong 64. I think that's the one that I played the most. I have the best memories of it. I probably got something better, but that to me was just, that was the pinnacle. It was such a magical moment for me. I wasn't expecting it too. Usually didn't get games until they were used. So getting a game that was brand new, that had just come out, really shocked me because my family, you know, they were working class, really at the working poor end of the spectrum, but they tried so hard, but they pulled that off, and I was so happy. Or Santa pulled it off, but you know, I was really happy with that. At that point, I didn't believe in Santa. Because my mom was like, she saw me, I had these, okay, this is a random story, but I'll just tell it since we're on the subject of Christmas. So I watched the movie The Mighty Ducks, really wanted to be a hockey player, got into skating, and I had these big ass skates that were like twice my size that my sister had gotten from Goodwill, and I was using those to skate and got really good at it. But I mean, I was going to break my neck at some point. So, you know, my mom took me skating in this big like tennis court, and she's like, okay, fuck it. She got out these rollerblades that she had, and she's like, these were actually going to be Santa's gift, but I saw Santa in the store, and he told me to give these to you. And I'm like, that's a fake story. I was 8. And I'm like, oh, this means Santa is not real. Okay, that's fucked up, but I am really stoked about the rollerblades. So at that point, I knew that my parents got me Donkey Kong 64. That's the point that I was going with. Although I will say I was kind of a little brat because I pretended to believe in Santa after that. cynically, because, you know, if you ask your parents for something and they're like, oh, I can't afford that, well, you can say, but you don't have to afford it because Santa could just make it. The elves can put it together. So gotcha. So I I played that up. And then I remember my mom was like, one day she told me, I can't remember how old I was. I was like 12. So it was like, she knew I did not believe, but she was like, I have to tell you something, Michael. Santa's not real. I'm like, what? It was a surprised Pikachu face, kind of. I was pretending to be shocked, and I'm like, but what about the snow that was left on the carpet? Oh, well, that was, you know, baking soda and water, whatever the fuck. What about the cookies? Oh, we ate them. Dad ate them. So I'm like, I knew I had to pull out my ultimate reverse Uno card, or Uno reverse card, and I'm like, okay, well, if Santa isn't real, does that also mean that God isn't real too? And my mom was like, oh, fuck me. So she's like, scratch that. I'm just joking. It's a prank, bro. And I'm like, that's what I thought. So I'll take a PlayStation 2 this year. Yeah. Santa can make that. God, I was a fucked up kid. I'm like reliving these stories, and I am such a fucked up I was such a brat. God damn. What is wrong with me? My parents did not deserve that. Okay. Well, maybe they did, but no, they didn't. Okay. Let's move on. Ellen asks, have you ever seen any of the Diary of a CEO content covering the CIA agent saying to leave the US by 2030? I'm addicted to these videos and it's interesting. I have not seen that, but if a CIA agent is saying that, I probably wouldn't believe it because my policy is the same for CIA agents that they are for cops. I just assume that everything they're saying is a lie until they prove otherwise. Okay, what do you think your dogs call you? We're moving on to Blue Sky. What do you think your dogs call you? One of them calls me Food Daddy. The other calls me Toy Daddy, I think. Another person asks, where did I get that sweater? This one. So I got it from a Fred Meyer's, never saw it again, but the company that made this is Black Mountain Knit Club, I think. Black Mountain Knit Group or something like that. You know, not super expensive, but very good quality in my opinion. So yeah, I'm glad you like it. Okay. Has there ever been memes of you? What's your reaction to the memes? Yeah, so there's a meme of me that was similar to the Wojaks of the dudes reacting to vegetarian chicken nuggets. And when I saw that, I lit up. I was so excited about that meme. It was so fucking hilarious. It looked like me, and it was the perfect Wojak to represent so many different things. I was ecstatic. So that's the only meme of me. It was a Wojak, which I think is super appropriate. No other memes though, as far as I know. But you know, we could still get some memes possibly. All right. What do you think about Jon Stewart 2028? And more broadly, who do you think are realistic options to represent? So Jon Stewart 2028, I've been hearing a lot about this. I will say, if he were to run, would I support him? Obviously, I think he would crush it. Having said that, though, I don't think he has any interest whatsoever in running. He said this before, so I don't think it's going to happen. In terms of who is a realistic option, I actually don't know. I'm kind of cynical right now, and I haven't really thought that far ahead. If I had to guess, I'd say it's probably going to come down to like Gavin Newsom or some other corporate dickhead, Pete Buttigieg. If there's a real progressive that chooses to run, I will support them, but I'm just not getting my hopes up. I'm not going to expect the Democratic Party to take away any lessons after this election. So look, I would love to see Jon Stewart. And if I had, you know, a wish, first I would wish for more wishes, and then I would wish for that. I'm not going to get my hopes up, though. Don't think it's going to happen. Any progressive that's like, good, I'll take it. Look, the bench is not great right now, so I don't have a lot to say about that. I'm not very optimistic, unfortunately, right now. But you know, there could be somebody that comes out of nowhere, and if that happens, you know, it'll be like an Obama situation. I'm down for it. Maybe the next Obama will be not like Obama and actually do what they say they're gonna do. Okay. Next one. What is the greatest JRPG of all time? So I don't think I'm qualified to answer this question because I only got into JRPGs recently. But in terms of the ones that I played, it's going to be a tie between Octopath Traveler and Dragon's Quest 11, whatever the last mainline Dragon Quest was. I think it was 11, Echoes of Wisdom. Those two games are great. I would probably say, actually, Octopath 2 is really good as well. I'm going to say Dragon Quest XI just because that one stood out to me the most. I really fell in love with the characters and thought the gameplay was fun. I also really liked Octopath, but I think that the dialogue can get a little bit superfluous and wordy, whereas I think they struck that balance perfectly with Dragon Quest. So I will say Dragon Quest. I'm probably going to think of something else when this video is over, but Dragon Quest for now. Okay, sharks with legs or spiders with wings? I'd rather have sharks with legs because odds are I'm probably not going to be in a situation where I come into contact with a shark with legs, but spiders with wings, that could happen. And even though I have had pet tarantulas before, I still get the heebie-jeebies from the little ones. Like if they're bigger, my brain shifts to like not being afraid, but if they're tiny, I still get a little bit afraid, which doesn't make any sense psychologically speaking. I mean, it doesn't make sense that we're afraid of spiders anyway. You know, arachnophobia is kind of irrational because they're so tiny. I don't know if it's all the legs. I'm not sure, but I would definitely opt for spiders or sharks with legs over spiders with wings. Okay. What is your top 3, or what is your game of the year for 2024? At least top 3. Okay. I have this figured out. Number 1, Astrobot. That is my game of the year by far. I loved this game so much, and I wasn't expecting to like it because I kind of fell out of love with platformers. I still like them, but I like Souls-likes more. That's my favorite genre. I also like cozy games, you know, two extremes, but Astrobot, by far, my game of the year. My second game of the year is probably Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. I also replayed Elden Ring before getting the DLC and really enjoyed it again. I think I enjoyed it more this time than the first time because I went with a strength dex build as opposed to, what was it? I was a magic build the first time, and I got my cheeks clapped. Like, I tried to spam magic. It was very difficult. This time, a strength build, it felt like I was playing on easy difficulty. When the first time, everybody told me that if you're doing magic, you're playing on easy difficulty. No. As a strength build, I was fucking shit up, okay? I beat the final boss on my first attempt. Like, I beat it before when I played it the first time, but strength build is where it's at, and I had so much fun doing it. My third game is going to be Black Myth Wukong. I love this game so much. It is gorgeous. You know, it's not perfect, but I thought that the Chinese mythology was beautiful. The music was beautiful. The scenery was beautiful. The gameplay was just so much fun. I love it. So that's my top 3. We'll probably be talking about this more in depth later on. Usually the Cavernacle and David Dole and myself, we do a game stream, and we were all planning on doing a Game of the Year stream. We might do that early January, so just look out for that if you want to know more about my choices. Okay. What is your favorite movie or TV show? So my favorite movie for the longest time was The Pursuit of Happiness because I've been a longtime fan of Will Smith. And, you know, grew up really poor, and it inspired me. But as I got older, I realized that was just capitalist propaganda, so I don't think that's my favorite movie. I don't know if I have a favorite movie. In terms of favorite TV show, without a doubt, it's The Office. I haven't rewatched it in a while. It's The Office, and I'm going to cheat and say favorite anime also, just because we're on the subject of TV shows. I'm going to say Attack on Titan. So it's a tie between The Office and Attack on Titan for my all-time, but like regular TV show with humans would be The Office. Anime would be Attack on Titan if I'm allowed to do that. Okay, we're getting to the end. You mostly cover American politics. Would you ever consider broadening your themes to also covering European politics? I would. It just depends on what we're talking about because I'm of the belief that you should stay in your own lane, and I don't want to talk about something and get it incorrect. I'm very, very familiar with American politics, but when we start talking about certain countries, you know, you can get a sense of where things are at based on a couple of articles, but it's still very, very difficult to get accurate information. You know, if you get the facts, will the more establishment implicit biases affect you? It's hard, so I try to avoid that and just stick to what I know. So it depends on what it is that will determine whether or not I talk about it, and if I feel comfortable enough speaking about a country that I'm not a part of. Okay, last but not least, how are you doing? Post-election checkup. I'm doing okay. I'm surviving. How are you doing? Okay, I think that's it. I know that I didn't get to all of them, but that's a lot of questions. It's been 25 minutes, so we're going to wrap it up. Here's the thing. Ask me more questions if you're not satisfied with those in the comment section, and I will try to answer them. There's no way I'm going to be able to answer all of them, but if you all upvote the questions that you really want me to answer, then maybe I'll see them and get to them if I have some time. I'm not making any promises because, again, I'll be doing this when I'm taking a break, so I might not want to look at YouTube at all, but nonetheless, shoot your shot, right? But that's the Q&A.